of You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This is a collection of short fiction, and I plan on doing an overview like this for every one of King's short fiction anthologies. This is going to take months, maybe even years to do so, but I have hopes at the end of doing a big reader's guide for Stephen King's short fiction. I feel that Stephen King's short fiction is some of the best output that he has done as an author, and I think it's a bit underappreciated, so I just want to kind of shine a light on it. So I'm going to do this video in 3 parts. This will be a very short video, and the first part I'm just going to give you an overview of this volume, what it's all about, what's within it, how it's going to be classified, those kinds of things. The second part, I will do very, very brief review and synopsis of each short story. And when I say very brief, like 2 or 3 sentences, just to tell you about each of the stories within here. And then at the very end, I'll give you my overview, what I thought of the collection as a whole. I'll give you the stories that I think are the best ones in the collection, including my favorite story from the collection, and how it stacks up with King's other works of short fiction. Now, the second section, when I talk about each individual story, just by the nature of short stories, that will include light spoilers. Even if I'm only giving you 1 or 2 sentences about a short story, just telling you what it's about is kind of ruining the discovery process in many ways of short fiction, because you go in pretty much blind, not knowing what you're going to read. So if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, skip that second section and go to the summary at the end. But if you don't mind very light spoilers, again, just the general premise of these stories, feel free to watch that section as well. So this collection was published in 2024, and this version I have is published by Scribner. This is the hardcover version, and it's 502 pages. There are 12 stories in here, 10 short stories and 2 novellas. The short stories range in length from 10 to 60 pages, and the 2 novellas clock in at 90 pages and 152 pages, respectively. The overall genre here is horror. On the back it says, "You like it darker? Fine, so do I." And these are some pretty dark tales, but it's not all horror. There is quite a few elements of just magical realism, which King employs in a lot of his books. And even in these short stories, sometimes he blurs the line between genre. But primary genres of this book would include horror and magical realism. I have to don the glasses so that I can see the titles of the short stories. The first short story is called Two Talented Bastids. And that's the best I can do with a New England accent, but it's spelled like that, B-A-S-T-I-D-S. And this is about 2 men who, one's a writer, one's an artist, and they get very popular and very famous late in life. And it kind of corresponds after an event in the woods during a hunting trip. This was a really strong start to this collection. I really love Two Talented Bastids. The second one is called The Fifth Step. And this was about an alcoholic just telling his story to a stranger on a park bench in Central Park. And apparently that's the 5th step of Alcohol Anonymous, or one of those 12-step programs. This one was indeed very dark. Really like that one. Third one's called Willie the Weirdo. And Willie the Weirdo is about this odd child that has an odd grandfather and an odd relationship with said grandfather. This one didn't do a whole lot for me. It had a twist at the end that it didn't really move me very far. The fourth one in this collection is Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream. This is a novella, and this one was a great premise. Danny Coughlin has a dream, and it's kind of a clairvoyant dream where he sees a murder victim, and then he goes and he finds the body, and of course the authorities don't believe him. And what I really liked in this one, this longer story, was seeing the villain just kind of unravel. And I won't tell you who the villain is. You see that as you go. But the premise behind this one's brilliant. The execution is brilliant as well. After that, we have a short story called Finn. And this is about a teenager with bad luck. It was kind of okay. The next one, On Slide in Road. This is a short story, and it's a family that just runs into some bad luck on a country road. This one was very good as well. I liked kind of the turn that it took, and I thought it was very well done. The next short story is called Red Screen, and this is one where a detective interviews a murderer who murdered his wife because he thought she was an alien. And there's a dark twist in this one. It was okay, wasn't quite as good as I had expected. The Turbulence Expert is a short story, and this is about a guy who has a job to make sure that planes don't crash. And it had kind of clairvoyant aspect to it, some cool characters. It was a pretty solid story. The next one is called Lori, and this is about a widower dealing with the death of his wife, and his sister, I think, buys him a puppy. And that doesn't sound like much, but this one was very good. I really enjoyed this one. It had a great twist at the end that I didn't see coming. Definitely enjoyed Laurie. The other novella in this collection is called Rattlesnakes, and this is a kind of a sequel to Cujo, only in that it takes one of the characters from Cujo and it follows his story, and he's in Florida here. And this one had probably the best horror elements in this story. And it just, for me, just reinforced how good King is at that and how he's still great at that. This was a very, very strong novella. The penultimate story was called The Dreamers, and this was about a Vietnam vet who gets a very odd job assisting kind of a mad scientist. And I really like this one. This one had kind of some cool twists in it and was just kind of riveting throughout. And I love the characterization of the main character. The final story in this collection is called The Answer Man, and this is about a lawyer who meets a man, who has all the answers. And what was most remarkable about this story is it was a longer short story, about 40 pages, I think. And you got to witness a character in pretty much their whole life. And it just showcased King's great characterization with, of course, a magical realism twist. Overall, this is a very strong collection. There are 5 stories that I really loved in this that I'll put on my Stories That I Love by Stephen King list. Maybe that'll be a video. I loved the short stories, The Talented Bastards. I loved The Fifth Step. And I loved The Answer Man. I also loved both novellas in here. I do like longer fiction, but I think they were both superb. Danny Coughlin's Bad Dream, as well as Rattlesnakes, the sequel to Cujo. So of those 5, what was my favorite? My favorite was the short story, The Answer Man. What I found so remarkable was just the characterization of this main character, how we, in the span of a short story, experienced just about his whole life, and he became a character that you care for, and generally just showcased how good King is at character. As a whole, this is a very strong collection. In fact, I will be pointing to this book when people say that King has lost it, that old King is better than new King. Pound for pound, old King might be better than new King, but he hasn't lost it because this was a very strong collection and probably one of his better publications in the last 5 years. So look forward to the next video that I do in this series. I think I'm going to go in publication order, so maybe in a few months I'll be doing Night Shift. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter and Goodreads and the Fireside Discord. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.